I'm over in Texas, and I'm headed down to Laredo. And in slow motion, I see this truck that's passing me. And he got these pebbles and stuff all on his bed, on the trailer that he's pulling, like a flatbed trailer or something like that. I'm looking in slow motion like, oh my goodness. I see this thing bounce up and down, boom, 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 in slow motion. I see it come over and it hit my windshield. Bye-yow! I'm like, oh my goodness, come on, man. What's going on? It's your main man, L Boogie. You know I'm blessing the Lord, highly favored, excited about Jesus, excited about the word of God. My cup is running over and I still want some more. How about you? And I told this story. I have told this story before. I actually told this story a lot of times to a lot of people. But I remember when I first started driving as a company driver, I was working for Central Refrigeration, and I had went to school out there in Salt Lake City. And so when I went to school out there in Salt Lake City, I'm out there, and while I'm out there, I was supposed to be out there for 3 weeks. I ended up being out there for 4 weeks because it was a snowstorm. And they shut the school down because we couldn't drive. And I was like, man. So I ended up and didn't have no money. When I tell you I didn't have no money, man, I ain't have no money. I was over there eating noodles. Okay? Eating noodles. Them noodles I ain't never tasted that good. I was over there eating noodles, trying to get my CDL. So I went over there to Salt Lake City. Then they didn't have me a truck ready yet after I came out of training. So I went to the training for the 6 weeks. Oh yeah, let me back up. So I get on the truck, right? I'm on the truck with somebody, with this guy. And come to find out, I'm on the truck with him and another dude. Okay? So he training both of us. Both of us was in class. He training both of us. We was on the truck for like a week together. I didn't know nothing I didn't know what to expect. You know what I'm saying? So we on the truck for like a week together. And so while we were on the truck, like either he'll be driving or I'll be driving. And the trainer was just in the back. But then after that, the trainer, his wife had just got finished training. I mean, had just signed up to train or whatever. And so they was like, hey, look, you know, I'm gonna get one of y'all to go with my wife, so that she can train y'all. And I was like, okay, cool. And so he was like, Larry, I want you to go over there. So I went over there. His wife trained me. So a lady trained me on how to drive. And she was cool. She was down to earth and everything. And so she trained me, taught me how to drive or whatever. And so I was with her for like 4 weeks. And then when I went to go get my truck, they didn't have a truck ready for me. So they was like, well, we want you to go recover this truck that's in California. Well, that's cool. I can go do that. That's super easy. Just go to California. Man, hey, where the keys at? Just give me the keys. So I go over there to California. So I go over there and they told me that the truck was in Fontana. So I ride over there with somebody. And then come to find out, the truck is not in Fontana. The truck is up there it's up north somewhere. I'm like, man, I forgot the place where it was at. But anyway, we had to drive a long time. I ain't even know California was that long. I was like, dang, boy, it's taking forever to get up here. So we started off in Fontana, and then we had to drive. It was dark when we got up there. Got up there, and guess what? It wasn't no keys up there. Man, I'm telling you what. I was like, man. Then they was like, hey, we want you to recover this truck, but we also want you to pick somebody up and bring them back to the terminal. I said, what? So they were like, we want you to pick somebody up, bring them back to the terminal. So I was like, okay, cool. So I got the truck, and I'm bobtailing back to the terminal, okay? Bobtailing back to the terminal. When I picked dude up, up. I didn't know it snowed. Okay, I didn't know it snowed in California. Okay, we got up there, man, it started snowing, and then I'm looking like, oh man. Like, I didn't know we were supposed to be, driving in the snow. And then we got to the place where you had to go over, I forgot what that place was. What was that place? Something you had to go, but anyway, you come over there by Lake Tahoe or whatever. What's the name of that place? Anyway, we went over there and had to go across that mountain. Man, I ain't never been so scared in my life. I was like, man, what? And then we got up there and they said, hey, we need everybody to, if you're gonna go this way, everybody gotta have chains on their truck. Well, we had chains on the truck. I mean, it wasn't no chains on the truck. And so I had to go and get like a advance or something, not an advance, but a PO to go get some chains. And when I tell you, these chains were so expensive. So I went and got the chains. After I got the chains, put them on the truck. And then I went back and said, well, you know, let's see tomorrow if it's like that, see if the snow done melted or whatever. So I go back and they were like, yeah, just go ahead and chain up. I ain't never chained up before. I ain't never chained up. Man, when I tell you, I had somebody help me put the chains on. So they helped me put the chains on, and then I got over the mountain. When I got over the mountain, I went back to go take the chains off. The chains gone. I'm like, man, what in the world? So it was a couple of chains that was on there. So went over there and seen where the chains had come off at. Brother, when I tell you, this is like terrible. So went over there to see where the chains was at. Couldn't find the chains. I was like, well, I guess we lost them in the snow somewhere, or coming down the mountain or whatever. So then finally get back, and I was able to get my truck and stuff like that. Now, that goes right along with what I'm saying. That goes right along with my first time, because my first time, whether it be in trucking, my first time, whether it be on a route or a dedicated route, it was always terrible. So my first time getting my truck was terrible. My first time when I went to CDL school, terrible. I ended up staying longer than I was supposed to be staying, and it make you get to the point where you be like, man, forget this right here. I ain't got to do this. I'd rather do something else. I was thinking to myself, man, I might as well go work at a factory somewhere. Because this right here, this ain't going to work. And so it's always some turbulence and stuff at first, starting out. But then it just, it starts rolling along. Which leads me to my next point of when I first became an owner-operator. When I first became an owner-operator, man, I started my business with a tax refund and a dream. I started my business with a tax refund and a dream. So I took my tax refund and I put some of it down on the truck, and I was like, well, hey, look, I'm about to get my own truck, about to start this business. I'm about to put this money down, and we're gonna keep it rolling from there. And I had about $2,000 or $3,000 extra. I said, man, this gonna have to work. So man, I'm out there just talking to different people. I'm thinking, okay, if I get this, all I gotta do is get this thing to start working. If I get this thing to start working, I know I'm up through that. I know I can do. I know I can be successful. I know I can get what I need to get. And guess what? That's exactly what I did. And so my first trip out, remember I told you about turbulence, right? I always have turbulence in the beginning. My first trip out, it was horrific. Okay? So my first trip out was so terrible, man. I was like, man, what is this? Like, why did I sign up to do this? Because it started off at first, okay, I went and, got my truck, went to orientation, okay? I go to orientation, and when I get there, I go down to, when I get to orientation, we have the orientation, then I go back to the, where did I go back to? go back to the room, have orientation again, then go back to the hotel room, then leave. When I leave, I'm like, man, I know they put some new tires on here, but like, something ain't right. And I'm like, okay. I called them and asked them, hey, look, did y'all balance these tires? So they were like, no, we don't never balance the tires. What? And so they were like, but if you want them balanced, we'll pay for you to get them balanced. So I went over to the Loves, and they got the tires balanced for me. And so they got the tires balanced. Then after that right there, I was sitting there looking at the board trying to figure out, okay, what am I gonna get? Cause I was still waiting on the trailer. Okay? So I'm still waiting on the trailer. So end up getting the trailer. And then I was like, man, what am I gonna get? What am I gonna do? And so after I went up to where did I go to? I picked up a trailer somewhere. So I said, you know what, for my first load, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that, you know, I'm starting off the right way, doing the right thing. So I said, when I was at orientation, I met somebody who said that they dispatch people over at Landstar. And so I was like, hey, what a bet. Let's go. If you dispatching people over there at Landstar, I'll use you. So I used him for the first week. He got me set up or whatever. Had to go down to, where did I go to? Laredo. And drop a trailer at the terminal. And then did some other load too. But look, this the crazy part right here. So I go pick up the load down in South Georgia, because I had another load going out there. That load canceled or something. And so went out there to Laredo. Went down there to South Georgia, picked up the load. When I get down there, I'm like, man, like I'm looking in the mirrors like, man, something wrong with my lights. Why my lights keep flicking on and off? And I'm looking like, oh man, I gotta get this fixed. Like, is this the trailer? Or is this my stuff? So I had to stop, had to get that fixed. And it come to find out it was some type of electrical problem or something that was with the truck. And I'm like, man, come on now. Don't do this to me. I ain't even took one load yet. Like, let me get through the load. You know? So I got that fixed and I take off. So I start driving, heading to Laredo. I get to Alabama when you getting ready to cross over right there. When you getting ready to cross over into Mississippi, down there on 10, and I was at that TA down there. I think it was Saraland or something like that. Sarasota, whatever. I was down there at the TA, and I got out to, you know, just check out everything and go use the restroom and get something to eat or something like that. And I heard a hissing noise. I'm like, what? This can't be. I know it ain't no flat tire. These brand new recaps. So I'm like, man, these are brand new recaps out here. And so I get over there, this thing is hissing, and it got a slit over there where the recap is at. I'm like, man, come on. I ain't even made it to a whole load yet. And so I'm like, so I'm sitting there that night, and at this time, I'm like, man, I'm kind of like down now because, okay, I spent some money on the getting the electrical right. Then I'm spending money and gotta get another tire. They were like, hey, look, do you want a new tire or a used tire? I said, man, put a used one on there. The best used one you got. Put a used one on there. So got over there, got the tire fixed, because, you know, I'm counting pennies at this moment. I'm trying to keep everything I can. I'm trying to be the best manager of the money that I got coming in. That's what I'm trying to do. And so I said, you know what? Let me go over here to get this thing fixed. So went over there, got it fixed. Took off the next morning. Okay? When I took off the next morning, I'm over there in Texas. Okay? I'm over in Texas, and I'm headed down to Laredo. And in slow motion, I see this truck that's passing me. And he he got these pebbles and stuff all on his bed, on the trailer that he's pulling, like a flatbed trailer or something like that. I'm looking in slow motion like, oh my goodness. I see this thing bounce up and down, boom, 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 in slow motion. I see it come over and it hit my windshield. Baya! I'm like, oh my goodness, come on, man. Now, it made a gash, probably like 6 inches. Now, we talk about, this is in April, okay? This is April, like April 20-something. Okay, so we get down there, and I look and I'm like, man, this gas is like this right here. I'm like, man, I gotta get this fixed. I know this against a DOT violation. I mean, we talk about this in pre-crip, you know. So I was like, I just gotta get down here. So I get down there to Laredo. I got this thing. It's like 6 inches across or whatever. And I'm like, man, I gotta get this fixed. But I'm like, I don't really want to spend no money, so I could probably just ride up under the radar. So what I did was, I went inside the terminal, and I sat inside the terminal just chilling for about 3 hours. Cause when I got down there, man, it was hot. It started getting hot down there. Cause I got down there at night. I think I got down there at night. But anyway, whenever I got down there, I know this right here, when I got down there, that thing was 6 inches, and I went into the terminal for about 3 hours. When I came back out of the terminal, man, that thing was all the way across my windshield. It was 100 and something degrees down there. I was like, man, what in the world? So, I always call days like them, those are character building days. I don't never like to say I had a bad day. I always like to say I had a character building day. So, I get down there, and I'm starting to see like, man, this is terrible. So, I was sitting down there talking to one of the guys, you know, just building relationships, just seeing how other people run, how they do stuff, and, you know, different stuff like that. So, I'm over there talking, and I talked to the guy, he was like, yeah, man, you know, Land started getting that fixed for you with the insurance. That come up under your insurance, and you ain't got to pay nothing. I was like, what? For real? And so, he was like, yeah, man, they cover the windshields and stuff like that. I was like, man, let me go ahead and call them. I called the insurance, and when I called them, I told them where I was at. Man, they came in there and fixed that thing. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, after all the money I done paid out, like, I'm not even gonna have no more money. I'm gonna have to like do what I gotta do. So I was sitting there, they came over there and fixed it or whatever, and fixed it for free because it was under my insurance. And yeah, I think they fixed it for free. Did they fix that for free? It might have been $50 or something. I don't know. I think it was free though. I think it was free. But went over there, got that fixed, and when I got it fixed, I was able to take off running. And then the guy who I had paid to be able to dispatch me, I kind of figured after that, man, I could do this right here. So he dispatched me, and I was like, man, I can dispatch myself. And so I started looking on the load board trying to figure out, because I was sitting in there with them, and they was telling me, man, you just do this, you just do this, you just do this. I was like, okay, cool. So I got some of their phone numbers. Then I started meeting people and stuff like that. But that first week, well, I was ready to give up. I said, man, I should have stayed a company driver. If I knew all this stuff was getting ready to happen soon as if I knew all this stuff was getting ready to happen soon as I get my own truck, now I got to pay for all this stuff. I got to pay for my tires, which I knew I had to pay for that stuff, but I didn't expect for it to go out just in the first load. So, yeah, so... And I really like that method. I like the method of leasing on, you know what I'm saying? I like the method of, you know, running up under somebody else's authority. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do till you can do better. And I started off like that. But the experience that I had now, the experience that I have right now versus the experience that I had, man, I have so much more wisdom. I would have done some stuff a whole lot differently. I would have been tapping into business credit. all kind of stuff like that. Because the thing about trucking is you're always going to be able to make the money. You're always going to be able to make the money. There are times when it goes up. There are times when it goes down. But you got to be able to not spend everything that you get as soon as you get it. You know, a lot of people do that because they switch over and they ain't never had this much money before. They ain't never seen that much money before. And for me, I think I had like $1,700 that first week just off that one load. And that's after fuel and everything. I was like, yeah, man, oh yeah. If I know this right here, if I can do this, I know I can do it. I know I can keep doing some other stuff. I should have stopped right there. I'm sure it's a pilot on the way. But I think that pilot right there, yeah. I like to go to the corporate pilots. But, yeah, man, you live and you learn. And certain stuff I know now, I'd be surprised looking at myself and looking at all the stuff and be like, man, I can't believe that I made it through that. But I did, you know. I was walking by faith. And I had to get to the point, man, because it was one of them things to where, like, I had called my wife and was like, man, I don't know. I don't know what I done did. I think I done messed up. I think I done missed the mark with this one. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to pull myself up out of this. And so I said to myself, you know what? I got to make sure my mind is right. I got to make sure that everything is right because I didn't have no mentor. I wasn't taking no courses or nothing like that. I didn't have nobody I could call. I'm trying to figure out all this stuff by myself. And then back then, it was like Landstar was like a secret society. You know, wouldn't nobody tell you too much information. You kind of had to figure out everything on your own. And so that's what I did. I started trying to figure out everything on my own. And I would call people. I would build relationships with people when I would go to the truck stops and stuff. Give people phone numbers and different things like that. So after I did that, I had said, you know what, I'm going to try something different. I said, man, I'm going to start praying every single day, 3 times a day. Praying with my wife. I said, I'm going to start praying with my wife every day, 3 times a day. And I'm going to have to meditate on this scripture. Okay? Because I can't let this stuff just get me all out of whack. You know what I'm saying? Just because something happens. I got to know and have faith and believe that if something does happen, that it doesn't mess up my whole mentality. Okay? If something does happen, that it doesn't mess up my whole mentality. You know, because if I'm the righteousness of God, if I have the favor of God on my life, guess what? God will begin to open up opportunities for me, but I gotta believe it. So I started praying with my wife morning, noon, and night. And so we got to the point to where it was 3 times a day. Then, you know, I felt I was at a place after about 2 weeks. I was at a place that we could break it down to like 2 times a day, and then 1 time a day. And then like a couple of weeks later, after I did that, I think I had a tire blowout. And I was like, man, I can't believe it. And this is the time where I'm still trying to get my faith together, still trying to get my stuff together. And I'm like, man, I can't believe this doesn't happen. And so, you know, I'm still kind of like tore up a little bit after about 2 weeks, after the first time messed up the other one. And then after that right there, shoot, I knew I was listening to I was listening to this teaching, and I was like, man, no matter what come, no matter what go, I'm not gonna let this situation determine my faith. And then I had another blowout, and I had called my wife and said, man, you know what? I just had a blowout, and I feel fine. I'm good, because I changed my whole perspective. When I had the blowout, I was right there on the exit at the TA, and by this time I'm like making money. So it's a month in, I'm making money now. So all them recaps that was on there, I'm just changing them out. I'm just changing them out. Okay? And so I knew that once I said, man, if I can get to the 6 month mark, I said, I'm going to be good. No, the 3 month or the 6 month. I think it might have been 3 months or 6 months. But when I got to the 3 month mark, I took all them tires off there and got a whole set, a brand new set of tires.